So what we're going to talk about first is we're going to talk about some word problems and how to interpret those word problems. We're not going to do a whole lot of solving with them. We're really going to be reading through them and trying to pick out information to get us ready to solve them, if that makes sense, because we all know word problems are a struggle for everybody, right? Nobody likes a word problem. Y'all will see a word problem and just skip over it for the simple fact that it's a word problem, if nothing else, because there's words in it and you don't want to read through it. So we're going to try to get us out of that. One thing that we're going to look at specifically in this section is what we call debt to income ratio. Now, ratio, not ration, but ratio, I hope you guys have done ratios before, have you?
Yeah.
What is a ratio?
It's the number 2 dots.
What's another way, though, that you can always write a ratio? As a fraction. And if you remember that, easy peasy, okay? Again, we're talking about word problems. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a fraction out of debt, which debt is really, if you think about it, it's what you owe, right? Do we all know that? I'm going to say what you owe. We're going to make a fraction out of that over your income. And income is what you make, okay? It's the money you make from your job. Do y'all have jobs? No, not quite all. No. Yeah, you do. Some of us do. All right, so we're going to talk about debt to income ratio. So let me give you an example. Ryan, and this is in your book, so if you want to go back and reference it, it's on page 33. I won't write out the entire, I could probably pull it up. All right, here we go. This is on page 33 in your book, but I've just pulled it up so that, did you say you're hot? It was hot. Okay. So I just pulled it up so we can read through and we can pull out the pertinent information and everything that we need here to answer the questions. All right. Ryan is applying for a home loan. His monthly expenses, so there's that expense, right? Come on. His monthly expenses are $1,165. His monthly income is $3,650. His projected monthly mortgage for a new home is $1,068. Banks determine whether a person qualifies for a home loan based on a metric at National Road Bank. Now, let me just stop right there and tell you what a metric is. A metric is a rule for assigning a number. Let's write that in here. You might want to put this in your notes. A metric is a rule for assigning a value. Assigning a value. So banks have this rule that they use to determine whether or not you qualify for a loan. Okay, you've probably seen that. If you get a credit card, you have to apply, right? And there's some criteria that they use. If you get a home loan, it's the same thing. You apply, you may or may not get it. All right. Ryan's debt to income ratio must be 0.36 or less to qualify. Remember, debt to income. You want to put that away, please? Thank you, ma'am. Your phone. You'll put it away, please. Your debt to income ratio must be less than 0.36. So remember, a ratio is just a fraction. And so I'm going to make the fraction and then I'm going to divide it and see what I get. Okay? And it says his mortgage to income ratio must be 0.28 or less. So we need to determine whether or not he qualifies for a home loan at National Road Bank. So these are two different banks I'm looking at. Did we see that? I have National Road Bank. National Road. That one needs to be what? 0.36. What's the other bank? New Savings Bank. I'm going to just put NSB. And what does that need to be? 0.28 or less, right? So I'm going to say less than or equal to, less than or equal to. So a little bit harder to get a loan at which one? NSB, right? Because it's got to be lower. So to determine, we need to find out what is Ryan's debt to income ratio. Well, the first thing we want to do is find his debt, right? Can y'all see that green? All right, what is Ryan's debt? How much does he owe every month? Okay, 1,100. Come on. This does not want to write on this way. 1,165. What is his monthly income? 3,650. Do I need his projected monthly mortgage right now? No, I don't need that right now. Right now I'm looking at it without the mortgage. So tell me, what is his debt to income ratio? What do you do? Divide it. What do you get when you divide 1165 by what? Because that's the debt. What's the income? 3650. What do you get? 0.31. Let's write it 3 places since they go out too. So 0.319. Is that right? Can he get a mortgage loan at National Road Bank? Is he yes, he's less than 0.36, right? Can he get a loan at NSB? No, because he's over 0.28. Does that make sense to you guys? Debt to income that way? You sure? I think half the battle in word problems is just pulling the information out as we go through. All right. Y'all want to do one more? Do we need to do one more? Okay. Debt to income is pretty easy. It's just the fraction and you're just comparing. All right, but do realize you're given some information that you don't need. And these new books do that a lot, and that's a good thing because it really trains you to have to pick out the pertinent information and what you need. Okay? Now, I'm glad we had some trouble rounding there for just a minute, or deciding how to round, because that has to do with accuracy, and we're going to talk about that for just a minute. Hey, I like that a little bit bigger. So when we start talking about accuracy in math, what are we talking about? Getting what? As close as possible, right? Using the appropriate units of measure, we want to be, we'll put that up here, I like that. Close as possible. I'll get it. Give me this. Which is more accurate? An inch or a foot? Why? It's smaller, right? I can really get much closer using an inch. If I measure my height by feet, then I would have to round to either 5 foot or 6 foot, right? But if I do inches, I can go 5 foot 9 inches. I can convert over to inches. It's a much more accurate. It gets me way closer, right? We understand how that goes? Does everybody understand that? Okay. So let's determine, let's see, when we round, everybody always has a question about how we should round. So let's look at some examples. If you are measuring a basketball court, whoa. And I want you to round to the nearest whole number. Should you measure in inches, feet? What is wrong with this pen today? Or yards? Basketball court now. I'm going to say feet too. If you go with yards, that's football field, right? Yes. So I'm going to go with feet's probably the more accurate. Inches is going to get a little more precise, but if you're talking about feasibly, I would say feet. How about the width of your computer? What should you measure in? Inches, right. Okay. I told you this would be pretty easy. Let me set up a scenario for you. Ethan has $13. He wants to divide that $13 amongst his 6 siblings. I'd just keep the money. When he divides 13 divided by 6, in his calculator, the number is 2.166667. How much should each one get? Where should he round? Why? Okay, and I ask you why, because normally you would say, okay, well, I need to round it out to the nearest cent, right? And because the number to the right of it is bigger than 5, I'd round it up. But why would you need to keep it at 2.16 instead of 2.17? What happens if you give 6 different siblings $2.17? Watch what happens. $2.17 times 6 people. What happened? It went over. I don't have enough, right? So because I'm talking about money, so these are the kind of things you have to think through as you determine where you need to round. Does that make sense? So instead, I'm going to do $2.16 per sibling, and I'm going to keep the 4 cents, right? Because you don't have enough to give everybody any more than that. Does that make sense to you? All right, some of you look like I'm just boring you to death. All right.